Back to Extraordinary Women. I'm Sharon Skinner, and I am speaking with Glain Roberts-McCabe, who's the president and founder of Executive Roundtable. Thanks for being here again today. I'm really enjoying this conversation with you.
Yeah, me too.
Leadership is actually one of my very favorite topics.
Yeah.
Now, you have seen mistakes that executives make as they're getting promoted, and this is one of the things that I would really like to talk to you about. What kind of mistakes have you seen?
Well, I've seen them and I've made them myself.
Right.
So I think of the top three are, I think one of the first ones is when you're getting promoted up and you're expanding responsibility. There were things that made you really great in the role you had. That is why you got promoted. You know, you were really terrific doing something, and then you get promoted because you were terrific at doing that. And we keep doing those things, and yet now we're at a new level of leadership, and now we need new tools in our kit bag, and we need different approaches to manage the increased scope, the increased pressures that we may be facing. So I think relying on what has always worked for us is one of the big mistakes that leaders make. The second one is that the higher up you go, the less feedback you get. And I really believe that, most of the time we get hired because of our skills, because of what we know, what's written on our resume. What people get fired for or what they get derailed from are their behaviors. So how you do what you do. Right? And that is the stuff that people don't get a whole lot of feedback on because we're lousy at giving that feedback. So there's a whole bunch of things that can start to happen to people who were very successful. They're no longer using the right tools anymore, and on top of that, they're not getting feedback. So they start to trip up and mess up, and organizations aren't that forgiving, once you start sliding. And then the third thing that I see happening a lot to the mid-career leader who we focus on, so these are people sort of between 30 and 45, is they're busy people, and especially when they're high performers, they're busy people, they have kids at home, they're juggling a whole bunch of things, and one of the things that they let go is their external network. They get their blinders on, their head down, they're in meetings all day long at work, they don't get out and network, they don't maintain a vibrant community outside of their organization, and then one day they lift their head, they have a new boss or a new CEO, there's a direction they don't like, all of a sudden they're not happy where they are, and they're looking around going, what do I do next? And they don't have that network to help them make their next move. So those are three really big ones that I see across the board.
Now, the imposter syndrome is something that you come across time and time again. Mm-hmm. What is that all about?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, and for people who don't know, have never heard that term before, it's really a feeling, and it's a feeling that people have where they feel that somebody is soon going to find out that they don't know what they're doing. You get promoted up to a new role and you think, oh my gosh, how did I get here? I can't do this job. Why did they pick me? And you're walking around feeling like you're not good enough for the position. There's a number of people, there's numbers of people that I've met with over the years who really struggle with this feeling of needing to prove themselves, hoping that somebody's not going to figure out that they are incompetent. And it's ridiculous. They have fantastic track records, amazing, successes, but there's this feeling of not being good enough. And, our community is, I always say we're gender neutral. We are for men and women. We're about better leadership. I feel like if we have better leadership in our organizations, everybody will benefit. And yet, I do feel like for women, this is something that we continue to struggle with. I've talked to women who are in their late 50s who are at C-suite level who will say to me, I just hope they don't find out that I don't actually know what I'm doing.
So it's a self-worth issue, perhaps?
I think for a lot of people it is. I think it's about self-worth. And I think, we all have our tapes that we play in our heads.
Our stories
that we tell ourselves, right? And we can't let go of those. It's hard to let go of those stories,
Even when you're at the C-suite.
Yeah, which is surprising, right? You'd think that people at that level really had it all together. But I used to facilitate sessions for C-level women, and I can remember when I first started doing it, I was a little intimidated because they were from much bigger firms. But then I would listen to what their issues were. Issues with their boss, issues with their direct reports, issues with their peers, and I thought, wow, this never goes away. And feelings of, insecurity and inadequacy and so it was an interesting lesson. We're all works in progress, I think.
Can you give me an example then of you know, an executive woman perhaps that you've helped who's you know, come to your organization and you said, okay, this is the issue and this is how we're going to help you, and you've held their hand through the process?
Yeah, I can't say it works quite like that. I think what happens to people that come to us is they're highly successful. I mean, the people that we tend to work with are already very, very successful. But maybe they're starting to feel dissatisfied a little bit in their role and they don't know why. We have a little model that we use with people, and we call it the cycle of engagement. And it's a little wheel, and we say, you know, when you start a job, you're ramping up, you're all excited, and then you hit a stage where you're accelerating, you really know what you're doing, and you're ramping it up a notch. But then you start to get bored, and you start hitting a plateau, and you don't know what to do next. And for people who are very ambitious and driven, they hate that feeling, and they start getting really, you know, what do I do next? You probably imagine, you know, this
boredom
probably feels
is,
good. Yeah, and your own career,
a terrible
right?
thing. Yeah.
It's terrible, and I think when you're achievement oriented, and so what people start doing then is trying to refocus and figure out what are they going to do next. And I would say we meet people on various parts of that engagement cycle, and a lot of the people we meet are sort of moving from the acceleration level into that feeling of plateau, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do next. And a lot of what I find we do is, if I think of like one of the number one things people will say to us about our programs is, it increases their self-awareness. It increases their self-understanding so that they can better manage their careers. And it increases their awareness about those behaviors that I talked about earlier and how they're either an asset to them in their leadership or they're a liability. And so what they can do about that. So I just finished working with somebody who literally was in that stage, not sure where she wanted to get to, and 1 year later is now enrolling in an MBA program, has far more self-insight into the behaviors that were a struggle for her internally, that caused her to have friction with people that she didn't need to be having. But now she's always going to have to work on those behaviors. We all have our things, right? But she's very much aware of them, and she's got strategies and tools to put in place when she feels that, her reaction in the situation is not what she wants it to be and isn't the most productive that it could be. So those are the kinds of things that often come out of the work that we do with the members that we work with.
Now, if anyone's interested in finding out more information about you or about the Executive Roundtable, where would you direct them?
They could go to our website, which is theexecutiveroundtable.ca. That's the THE, executiveroundtable.ca.
Well, Glain, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure.
I really enjoyed the conversation. I wish you all the best.
Thanks.
And let's do this again
someday I'd love
soon.
To. Anytime.
Now, Amazing Women's Day, April 16th. Please come out. It's a great day that is sure to inspire you. It's taking place at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, downtown Toronto. More information at amazingwomensday.com. And of course, Extraordinary Women is the proud media partner of Amazing Women's Day, so I'm going to be there, and I'd encourage you to be there too. So for more information about upcoming shows or to contact me, please visit the website at extraordinarywomentv.com. Special thanks to my friends and family for your ongoing support, and of course to the folks at thatchannel.com. Well, if these stories have inspired you, I hope that they've transformed your life, or in the process of transforming your life. You've been watching Extraordinary Women on thatchannel.com. I'm Sharon Skinner. See you soon.